Hello, and welcome to another episode of the DomJake podcast, which is a podcast 20 years from now. You and I are going to be like, wow, I remember listening to these numbskulls talking about random stuff. But anyways, I am your host, Dom, and joining me today is my co-host, Jake.
Hello, everybody. My name is Markiplier. No, just kidding. Well, I mean, I guess I could say Markiplier is relevant to this topic of today. Which, care to introduce it?
It is a topic which I did touch a little bit on in the New Year, New Beginnings episode, but I am going to dive more into it, and that topic is called nostalgia.
Wait a minute. Haven't we already done this before?
We have done this before, but we're going to literally take the whole iceberg and take out of the water.
No,
and we're actually going to...
Seriously, didn't we already do a full nostalgia one before?
We did not do a full nostalgia one before. We had it as a topic for part of an episode, but it wasn't the whole episode.
Oh, that's right. It's not nostalgia, it's deja vu. Hey, that viewers right there was a failed joke because he thought I was serious.
Well, well, what a jokester. But I will now get into the dictionary definition of nostalgia. I'm sure most of you guys have at least experienced this at least once in your life, if not 10 million other times. There are 3 definitions here that I have.
3? Okay, let's do this.
First definition is a bittersweet longing for things, persons, not people, or situations of the past. Second definition, the condition of being homesick, homesickness. Definition 3, homesickness. Who would have guessed? A severe and sometimes fatal form of melancholia. Yeah, I can't.
Wait, spell it for me.
MELANCHOLIA. Melancholia, right. Due to homesickness. But usually the most common definition is the first one, which is a bittersweet longing for things, persons, or situations of the past. So things that are...
Isn't nostalgia also the name of the character who was flicking the lights on and off in SpongeBob?
Oh, nope, you must be confusing that with Nosferatu. But, however, he is also a nostalgic figure, not for the original reason why he was a thing, but for a TV series that we've watched as kids, which is still going on today. In fact, as of this recording, it's been 25 years since that show became a thing. Now, the question I have really for you and I is, why do people feel nostalgia?
Because they're babies who want to feel nurtured by their past. They can't move on. They can't do anything unless if they're able to relive the past. I'm sick of it. Just move on.
That's partially true. Some people don't even want to move on from things that, that to them they thought was the best thing since sliced bread. Such as maybe, let's see, their NES. People will probably be like, oh, that pales, and the Switch pales in comparison to the NES. But then again, you know what? If you like it, great, but you know what? That was a thing that was more prevalent, not popular. There's a difference.
But I mean, thinking about it though, today people are able to possibly get a Switch and that's their childhood thing, 20 years from now, they're going to be like, oh, the Nintendo tool, the Nintendo tool pales in comparison to the Switch that I had 20 years ago. It's all cyclical in nature. Everybody's just fine with the emotions that they were going through back then rather than what they feel right now, because back then things were more simpler. The hardest thing that you had to deal with was where you were going to sit in the cafeteria. But now we're like, oh, I wish that was the only problem that we had to do. We have a world of, a world of terrible things that are going on. Because, let's face it, it's the adult world, right? It's filled with different things that kind of force people to look back on the past. Obviously, like viewers, if you're not able to tell this, or I should say listeners, even though YouTube, you're kind of, whatever. It's called a view, so I'll call you a viewer. So, viewers, I am kind of taking a negative Nancy stance on this. Everything that he says, everything Dom says, I'm going to come up with the opposite viewpoint, just to kind of spice things up, kind of make things a little bit more on the debating side, right? Because I'm a master debater.
I do like to have a good debate every now and then, but that's literally why people, I guess, feel nostalgia, I guess, either to cope with their current situation, or, to remind them of, I was a kid, I didn't have to pay taxes like my parents did. But, yeah.
There's also a point to be said about that, which I don't know if we'll get into it a little bit later, but there is something that I don't know if it's every single branch or whatever, every single facet of nostalgia, but nostalgia can either lead to or is considered like a mental disease sort of deal, right? Maybe I'm misquoting, and I do have kind of hiccups right now, so I might be pausing every now and then, but maybe I am misremembering what I saw and what I read, but nostalgia can lead to different things, or maybe it's something can lead to nostalgia, which can kind of stimulate the brain into tricking itself that, it actually is 2008 again. It actually is my 7th birthday tomorrow, right? Different things like that. I wouldn't say in most situations nostalgia is like a sickness. It's definitely a part of the bundle, right? Some people can have that, I actually am a baby in their mind. And what doesn't help is the constant stimulation of rewatching the show or movie that they watched every single day in 2008 or whatever, or in 1988, or
God knows when.
Whenever it was, right? But there is such a thing as too much nostalgia, whether it is they are sick or just not, right? There is too much revisiting the past.
Yeah, there's a balance to it, at least you accept that we're in a modern world, but we still appreciate the things that we had back then, or you're literally regressing back to the past and not accepting literally the new stuff. But then there's the argument, of course there's things that are better unchanged, but it all varies on what we're talking about.
Oh, definitely. There definitely are things that just were better back in the day. And I would even say back before our days, some things were better. Like in terms of consumerism, like a washer, like they were freaking tanks, and some washers that were built back in the 1930s or whatever are still operational. and still functional and still do awesome stuff. Meanwhile, you get a washer today that just poops out tomorrow, right?
Well, it's like, see, the things now, I guess, what it seems to be, they're designed to break over time.
Oh yeah, they're designed so then you could get a replacement or different pieces, or maybe they're kind of maybe the system's kind of in play to make it so it's like, well, you can replace this part, but it's probably going to be more expensive than getting a new one in general, and that's probably what it is. I mean, this is definitely a different topic now, but
Oh yeah.
we could definitely talk about like things legitimately being better back in the day, or maybe the day we're talking about could be today, and maybe 20 years from now, something that we have right now is the best that it ever was, or whatever. Who knows? Who knows? We can get into that a different day. But
Honestly, hey, maybe 20 years from now we'll do a part 2 of this, I guess. Well, maybe not part 2, but do a sequel to this.
part 22 of no.
But, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's definitely something we could talk about later on. Things made back in 1935 versus things made in 2013.
Let's just say houses back in the 1930s, you could be, I don't know, barely breathing and have a mansion in the 30s. Now you can barely get a cardboard box for $30,000, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. But yep, that's mainly why people feel nostalgia. For those reasons. And some, maybe if there's reasons that we did not, get on, comment down below. But I guess the next bullet point I have here is, what are we nostalgic for? I think the one thing that I am thinking of off the top of my head is Animal Crossing City Folk on the Nintendo Wii.
Okay, I kind of did expect you to say that one at least sometime today. Okay, I've heard the fiction stories before.
You've seen me play stuff from when I was a kid in the form of videos.
Oh, technically, yeah. I have seen you in 2008. Or whatever.
Yeah, 2009 was the year for, literally Animal Crossing. I was always wanting to catch every fish whenever I had the opportunity to. I was whenever a new month came by, I was just excited to come home from school just to turn on the game, play the Animal Crossing game, catch all the new fish that's out this month.
Were you big on the bugs, though?
Yes, I was, but I mean, it's I guess 75% of what I was with the fish. I don't know if that makes any sense.
For every 3 fish you got, maybe you got a bug. Okay.
Sure, yeah. But however, to this day, there's one bug I have not caught.
Which one?
The tarantula. But I did catch it in New Horizons.
Oh, okay.
I've caught every fish, but I still do not have that tarantula. And I don't even know where the original Wii is.
Oh. Yeah, we still have both of ours, right there.
Actually,
if I needed to. But...
It's in storage. Actually, I think it's in storage. But there's that, and I guess watching a lot of the shows that we've had, on Nickelodeon and Disney Channel, stuff that I'm sure some of the viewers may or may not be alive when these shows were around. And of course, I do have that's really the big gaming nostalgia I have. I guess we'll start with you.
So, actually, something I did kind of mean to add, and I didn't really want to interrupt you to do it, but this is kind of going a little bit backwards. But there is something to also be said about different people's mindsets to different things, right? When it comes to nostalgia, some people might have today a nostalgia for something that they were more hyper fixated on back in the day, because it really sounds like from the Animal Crossing City Folk stories that you've told me over the days, over the months, whatever you want to call it. It seems that you were very hyper fixated on it, right? To the point where it's like, oh, you were thinking about it in elementary school or whatever. You were thinking about it like coming home right then, gotta get done, right?
I really was hyper-fixated on it.
So, I'm curious, things that you maybe played in that time that weren't City Folk, do you look back fondly and with, your rose-tinted glasses, or are there just things that you're like, wait a minute, I did play that, but I don't remember anything about it, just because it wasn't a hyper-fixation?
Okay, there were other games on that console that I do remember playing, but I was not hyper-fixated on it.
So today you're probably not looking back with like oh yeah, I did that one. Yeah, you're not like looking back on it.
Yeah, not as much.
Yeah. So there is something to be said about hyperfixations kind of equaling future nostalgias. That's just something I wanted to kind of mention, but to kind of go back to what the real topic right now is. There definitely was a good point of City Folk in my time. There was a good point of Wild World, which is DS one. There's a good point of I believe Happy Home Designer, the first one on the DS or whatever. There's definitely the kicks that I've had with the Animal Crossings, but really the one that my nostalgia goggles kick in on, and I wouldn't even say that this is going as far back as yours, but there's somebody who played Mario Maker 1, right? The first one.
So this is like the Wii U era.
This is the Wii U era, right? And this kind of leads into another thing that I look back fondly about, but there was somebody who played Mario Maker 1. Like day 1 or day 2 or something like that. Definitely week 1. And they posted a video of, like a level or two that they made. And I think they were even taking us on the journey of like how they made it. So it's like, I think I'm going to add this platform right here. So then it tricks you into going here, going there, whatever, right? So he takes us on this journey. And I'm like, oh, I like this guy. What else does he have? Because sometimes you watch different things and it's like, now you're on a rabbit hole of watching different other things that they have to offer. Like I even did it today with, just a video that I saw. I was like, what else do they got? Whatever. Something that I found out later was he was very, very popular in the Minecraft universe. He is the British YouTuber who last year, like in October or November, finally put a curtain on his series, but for close to a decade he did like a Minecraft Let's Play. And he goes by the name of Stampy. I look back on like all of his stuff. Sure, I didn't find it day 1 of his Minecraft stuff. If anything, it was closer to like 300, right? But
yeah.
It's really something where it's like I look back fondly on 2 things, all because of that one guy. Like all because of Stampy, I'm into the Mario Maker stuff and I'm into the Minecraft stuff. I definitely look back to different friend groups which I had. let's just say those sails have burned, so I don't think I could dock my ship in there on their dock anymore. Different things happen like that, but like that game, like Minecraft, I had like a server that on the Wii U, because there was the Minecraft Wii U version or whatever, I was able to, log in and do things with everybody there. Definitely look fondly to that blocky game. But honestly, like, something else that really does it is I super big like on the Nintendo stuff, right? So there was a Super Smash Brothers Brawl that was on the Wii, right? And I really liked Subspace Emissary, which is like, for those of you who don't know, it's pretty much like the World of Light or whatever for whatchamacallit, the recent one, the Super Smash on the Switch, right? It's like the story mode adventure where it's like you unlock all the different characters and all these different missions and stuff like that. I definitely have a lot of gaming nostalgia, but I mean, I could probably, if I needed to, list like different events, even not necessarily like a game or entertainment sort of thing, but like a fireman fair, right? That's pretty close by is a fire station that has like a fireman fair. There's like a DomJake, there's like dart balloons, there's a test of strength, the hammer thing, and then there's like the shop inside of the fire station. I definitely look back on, let's just say, on a certain address. I'm not going to say the address, but I could say that it was my grandmother's house. Now it's my uncle's house. But
yeah,
I went there pretty much every single week because different shenanigans happened to lead to my mom pretty much being the caretaker, right? Because for the later half of my grandmother's existence, she definitely had Alzheimer's dementia, so I, visited that house pretty much weekly, and almost just about daily even, but definitely weekly, just because, we don't have time to babysit someone there if I'm expected to go babysit, grandmother too. So it's like they brought me along there, so it's like, okay, we'll just do everything there.
Yep, there's definitely nostalgia for, like, I guess, family stuff too.
Yeah, different places. Do you have any, like, nostalgic places?
I guess I'll start off with something that I guess I have talked about in, like, one of the holiday episodes. I would go to my uncle's house for Christmas Eve. Which, I mean, we kind of do now. We still kind of do that even to this day, but it's still not the same as when we were kids. Of course, when we were kids, we would get the Hess trucks every year.
And we kind of have that, or had that too. There was a point when, like, since, I'll be honest, sometimes your family members, not talking about like the household ones, but like uncles and cousins and stuff like that, sometimes they don't know precisely what you like, so they just kind of are like, what can I get a 8-year-old boy? Hess trucks, or Hot Wheels, or things like that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, obviously you gotta accept the present and be happy with it, but sometimes on the inside you're like, ooh, if you asked my parents, you wouldn't have gotten this. Let's just say that. But you have to in the moment be like, great, I'll use it every day. When you didn't like it to begin with.
well, I mean, they were still fun, but it's like, oh, I played with it once, or at least a few times, and it's like, oh, I forgot all about it.
Honestly, like, there was a Christmas that I think I even told you. Maybe I also told the pod this, but I don't remember if I did. But I definitely know you've heard it at least once. I don't know about the viewers or listeners, but there was a Christmas when, like, I did not make a list. I did not say anything. I was very young, and it was just everything had to do with balloons, right? It's just
Okay.
balloons, right? I go downstairs and like the whole living room has like helium balloons up on the ceiling. They're like, you know, holiday ones, which like those aluminum ones, right, or whatever they are, like the shiny metallic ones that have like prints on them. There are like balloons everywhere. Some of them are just filled with regular air, so it's on the floor. Like everywhere you go, everything that was mine was a balloon thing. I didn't ask for it. I didn't, but it's obviously like probably one of my most memorable ones because it's not what I expected, right? I don't know if you've seen the movie, but Deck the Halls. That one with Matthew Broderick and Danny DeVito, right?
Okay. Yep, I've seen it.
Yeah, it's like they want to be, you know, viewed from space with all of their decorations or whatever, right? So many Christmas lights and whatever, but Matthew Broderick's character was like, well, I'm trying to make the holidays very fun for, you know, his children, right? Very fun. So he's trying to deck the halls out, really, to the best of his ability. But he then was like asked, "Hey, what was your most memorable Christmas?" And his most memorable one was when everything went wrong, and his Christmas dinner was like McDonald's in the driveway because, like, I think maybe maybe they were locked out or ran out of gas or some shenanigans happened. But like, I think about that and it's like a lot of things that you see as utter garbage now, sometimes you look back on it later on and you're like, that's the most memorable one. And sometimes it's like everything went wrong, so 20 years from now you're gonna laugh about it, sort of deal. Of course, sometimes you cry about it if it really was bad, but like, you know, it's just different things like that. You kind of think about it.
Yeah, definitely one of the things where you probably hate it with all your heart, and now 20 years later you're like, oh man, it's so memorable.
I mean, it's probably the same sort of situation of like, today, let's say you have a cowlick or whatever, and you have a school photo tomorrow, and it's like your hair's not working, but you have to take the photo apparently, and they take a photo of you. It's not very flattering at all, right? But 15 years later, you look back at the yearbook, you're like, haha, look at this dweeb.
Oh yeah, remember those hairstyles back then?
Hey, but that's you. Exactly, that's the dweeb. Right?
Yeah.
No, but it's definitely things like that everywhere.
Yep. I guess one other place that I guess I'd be nostalgic for, and probably most people our age would be, is the store called Toys R Us. But hey, for all you Canadians listening, at least you guys have it.
I mean, we still have it. I think it's just part of Kohl's or something, right?
It's part of Macy's now, which we don't even have. And then they also are trying to get some standalone stores, which, hey, that's great for us.
Hey, that's Toys R Us. Okay.
And then, yep. Yep, that was great. And then Chuck E. Cheese. God, I remember.
That one too often. That was only like a once or twice ever, and it was always for somebody else. Wasn't ever for me.
But yeah, I mean, I guess this was back when people weren't super crazy when it comes to the sanitization of like the tubes that the kids crawled in. Apparently now they don't have them, and then the animatronics are gone.
Well, I could understand why the animatronics are gone.
But
because William Afton was trying to. I'm not gonna do the Five Nights at Freddy's lore. I could do a meme thing and just for the next hour go through Five Nights at Freddy's, but I'm not going to. It's not even something I'm nostalgic over, honestly.
I mean, hey, we're getting close to how long has. Right now, I'm doing a live research.
I think it's probably hitting its 10-year. Like, I think it was 2012 or whatever.
August 8th, 2014.
Well, I was 2 years off, but I wasn't off with the 10-year mark, right?
But no, it's definitely at its 10-year mark, like, pretty soon. It's like, I'm sure it's like, hey, some people may be nostalgic for this game.
That's a very, very weird circumstance. Like, that game is literally the only reason why there are so many of them right now is just because of all the theories. Mainly game theory with MatPat, right?
Yep.
But he was going to stop out game 1, or maybe game 2, whatever. But then, videos happen where it's like, but actually, what are these animatronics? And, like, dissecting every single thing. So now Game 3 exists, and then 4, and then 5, all because of pretty much MatPat. That's a weird case where it's like, one YouTuber versus one game dev. Who's gonna win?
Who knows? Yep. Yep. I think he's the. They did make a movie, like 9 years too late, or like however many.
I mean, I think last year or the year before they did do like Security Breach, so it's not too bad.
But hey, it was still a good movie.
I haven't even seen it.
But yeah, I will not spoil it then for you.
I mean, it's. I was told that it's not like canon. It's like things that happen in that are definitely not a part of the real lore, right? But yeah.
So I guess diving the whole internet thing, there are like a couple YouTube channels that I would say I am nostalgic for, and then one of them being Smosh.
I was watching part of their one of their Reddit reactions just before recording this. That's fun.
Yep. I mean, they're doing a lot better, I guess, now after they bought their own company. But this is a whole different topic for another video. Another channel I used to watch was a channel called Jeepers Media, and this guy, he hasn't made like these videos in a long time, but I guess back in YouTube's early days, he would review, I guess, quote unquote failed toys that were on the market at the time, and not just toys but other little knickknacks like snacks and stuff. But I guess let's just say our minds would be in the gutter when we look at these things and be like, oh, our minds are too dirty.
Oh, you're talking about like if, let's say there was like an alphabet game or something, like somebody could like type in, let's just say a naughty word, right? And then it sounded out like letter, bad word, without even Sometimes those alphabet games have something in them where it's like they straight up will refuse to like read it or whatever. Like if you do something explicit, but sometimes they don't have that feature. So you could literally, spell out, I don't know, Fuck, and then it will be like,
They could.
Right. And
They
it would actually
they
sound
wanted
bad.
to.
But a lot of times, like, they are going to make it so that isn't even registered as a word. Sometimes you find a device that it works, and it's kind of funny when you're in the toy aisle or whatever, and you're just pressing the button with like, F U.
Well,
Say fuck right there.
yeah. One of them he did was like a Mickey Mouse toy, and then it looked like Pluto was, let's just say, whacking his hot dog when he really was not.
Pluto.
But funny enough, I didn't even really watch a lot of these videos till a couple years after they were around. So I was a little bit older. But
honestly, I haven't even heard of that guy. I've just, I guess, heard of people doing similar things because if there's a system that works on the internet, somebody else is going to do it too, right?
yeah, but I mean, I guess now this is kind of common, but I guess when these videos came out, this was at a time when YouTube was doing star ratings.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't even start, I guess, binge watching this guy till a couple of years after, so they weren't even doing the star ratings. But, and then, I guess, the next YouTube channel this one was a pretty good series, and this channel goes by the name of McJugger Nuggets. This is a guy that has made a series known as the Psycho series. And I guess when he started making the series, he was capitalizing on those like freak out videos that were around at the time when the video world's greatest freak out. Please say yes, kids.
No.
Well, then you know what? Now I'm gonna have the world's biggest freak out because you don't know. No. But he was trying to capitalize on that, but people thought it was real. And he was like, wait, why do people think this is real? So then he had the idea of kind of continuing on the story. And it lasted just for a few more years. Even I included thought it was real. Because obviously we were teenagers at the time. But I was like, wow, why is his dad destroying this guy's electronics and locking him in this little studio room to make his videos in towards the end of the series?
And why is the same thing happening every single day? This family is, they break a lot of stuff. How can they do this every single day?
Well, I feel bad more for the pets that are there when this is being filmed.
I would also lump in neighbors too, who are just not in it. They don't know what's going to happen, so it's like they're breaking stuff again.
But they have had police go to their house a couple times.
I'd imagine.
But then, right when the series ended, it was revealed to be fake. But the last video, it kind of, I guess they staged the cut, and he's like, "That's a wrap, everyone," and then the family just kind of shows up. It's like, wow, that was a good series. But I mean, he still does stuff now, but it's nowhere near as big as he was back the last decade. And then, okay, one more channel I will mention before we dive into the next bullet point. I guess this is a channel known as Super Mario Logan, who I used to like when I was younger, and the one that introduced you to this channel back in high school.
It was either you or was it let's just say B-Man? Was it B-Man or was it you?
No, it was me when I showed you some. I think I was showing you a Shrek video that he made in culinary class when we were in culinary.
Because I remember for some time B-Man was also hey, here's this too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like things, our taste has changed, and eventually I phase it out. But there will be those moments with each of these channels, maybe more so McJuggernuggets and I guess now SML. I will very, very occasionally revisit them. But
yeah, the most that I do would probably be tuning into I don't even watch videos. I would just scroll through and maybe read the title or something to get a little glimpse of what's happening. But honestly, last thing that I saw from them was because you said something about, them being parents now. So I'm wait a minute, what? So I actually had to go watch that when you said that, but
that's apparently so.
And I mean
unless they borrowed a toddler from the local supermarket, which I would doubt they would do.
Or the other option could be that one of their sisters have the child and it's just they're babysitting it or something, and it's faked because it's their niece or something.
It's also a possibility. That is
Well, the first thing you went to was taking as someone else's from public, right?
But
that's the attic attacker, everybody. That's who we're dealing with.
That's who had you. Oh, you blew my cover. I'm out. No. But out of those channels I listed, McJuggernuggets would be the channel that I would often revisit, with a mix of some of their new stuff as well as rewatching some of their old series.
I'm gonna be honest, a lot of mine are just. It would be people like the Game Grumps, which I still kind of do tune into them. Again, it's not a everyday, every video thing, but it's there's some series where it's I will do that one if they do this or whatever. I mean, I'll do, the Markiplier crew.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not that much with the Jacksepticeye anymore. It's just kind of, and to his credit, he's doing it for his mental health, right? But he's more so trying to focus on his coffee business. Top of the morning coffee, try it today.
Hey.
He's focused on different things, and the thing that he'll play games and record the whole thing and upload them as marathons, which I get why he does it, but it's I don't want to sit there for 5 hours watching a video when I could I don't know, watch a 20-minute thing or watch 60 20-minute things over the course of a year or whatever, like he used to do. He used to do things in parts. But I mean,
again, what you could do is watch part of it today and then watch another part of the video, tomorrow. But
a part of what I like to do is I like to have the beginning and end in mind. I like to actually have the cliffhanger, right? Because it's oh well, he's not gonna upload the other one until like next week or whatever, right? So I have like a week to be like, is this gonna happen? Is he gonna do this? But I haven't really seen much from the JSE stuff, but I definitely do. I still tune into the Markiplier stuff still.
Nice.
It's honestly, if anything, it's because of the podcasts, right? He has Distractable, and he also has Go, My Favorite Sports Team. Those two pods have been like kind of revigorating something. It's like, ooh, yeah, I like this guy.
Yeah.
But like, I started listening to their pods, and then just out of nowhere, I was like, let's see what the real channel has. There. So,
Yep.
something I can say, which actually is Markiplier related, and I have heavy nostalgia for, that at least until like a month ago or two, you either barely heard of it or never heard of it, and that is the former channel Unus Annus, right?
I do remember about it from you.
Right. So it's one of those things where it's like the idea of it was 1 year, every single day they would post, and they would make a video every single day. But after 1 year passes, deleting the whole thing. Like on the live stream, they actually clicked delete. And now for like the final week of it, everyone was like, well, surely they can't really be deleting it. No, they did. They actually deleted it. But so the whole idea behind that was just to be in the moment, and if you were there, you can remember it. If you were not there, you missed out on it. And maybe somebody who knew about it meets with somebody who didn't know about it, and the person who knows can like regale them in different memories. It's supposed to simulate a person passing away, pretty much. It's like you have this time with them, and suddenly it's gone. It's just not to be seen again, is what they wished, is what they wanted. But of course, people archive things and repost things all the time on the internet. Which is how you were able to see a little bit of them. But
which it does go against their wishes.
It definitely went against the stuff, but I mean, it's one of those things. It's one of those topics that's like, you can expect that everybody can like obey your wishes and really not re-upload things. But there's going to be that group of people who are like, well, I don't even get why you would want to delete it. It's content that you did. But that's not the point of the content. It wasn't to get popular, although it did because, Markiplier was part of it, right? But the point of it was to have this thing and have it go, right? And I mean, I don't like the fact that it was archived, because I was there pretty much since day one. And it makes me feel like, well, I didn't have to be there every single day. I didn't have to do that for a year. I mean, it was entertaining, I still liked it, but I didn't have to watch every single one if it meant I could see them 20 years from now on an archive. But I definitely feel the inspiration from them. For those of you who might have seen our community post, we are working on something that I would like to say my number one inspiration would be the Unus Annus series. Like, that straight up is what is inspiring a specific project that we're working on. But projects aside, do you feel nostalgia for different things that we've done, like together, for the show, or for things that just the two of us did in study halls or whatever, just different things?
I would say, okay, when we made let's say the Hangman games.
My games in the cafeteria,
And I've done, let's say, what is the Mad Lib Creator?
yeah.
Or, I do have another memory is just goofing around at lunch. We look at pictures and try not to spew out water on the counter.
Yep, we gotta remember juice.
Yep, that's gonna be something to remember.
Gotta remember wall mustard.
Foot puck.
Foot puck that's the game that I invented. Well, I shouldn't say I invented. It is pretty much a mixed. It was a collaborative effort.
But I still came in the classroom.
Yeah, you came in, you played it a little bit, but you weren't there for the creation.
But yeah, in general,
it's just hockey with like yardsticks and like a roll of tape and like 2 buckets. That's literally.
Hey, if it means something to you, then who's to say it doesn't? Who's to say it sucks, right?
I remember like a lot of different things. Like every single day, a different science teacher. But in the middle school, right? I was in the same class as former guest Nick, right? The guy who was talking about Mr. Beast and, well, actually I said it, but Mr. Beast and Bear Grylls, right? The Castaway experience.
He's the one that brought up Mr. Beast, but him, yeah.
Right, yeah. The Castaway guest. I was in his science class, but every single day the teacher would, whenever calling on him, he would always have like a pun, right? He would say, I don't know, hey, Jolly Saint Nick, you have a question? Right? Things like that. And then my task would pretty much to be like, to create like a pun or something out of that. And I got to a point where I really, I nailed one, right? So the teacher like calls on him and he's like, how's it going, Partridge? And I'm like, without delay, I was like, in a pear tree. So I look back at like different like teachers and lessons fondly too.
Yep.
I mean,
okay, I have something funny.
Yeah,
this
teacher
was in
stuff, yeah.
Well, this is kind of a teacher. Oh, so this was in the. I don't even think you were in this. This was when I was. Of course, we had the same teacher in 8th grade, but I remember there was a student that was, I guess, sleeping in class, and then he had the brilliant idea of just smacking the ruler right near his head, and then he woke up being like, I didn't do anything!
Who was this? I mean, you don't have to say the name, or like if you do, bleep it out, but like, who was the sleepy guy? Oh, okay.
But
that makes sense. That checks out.
He's like waking up for it. He's like screaming. He's like, I didn't do anything. And everyone's just like dying of laughter.
Oh yeah, that's fun. I'm able to experience like the nostalgia, even though I wasn't even there, right? Because I can definitely believe it. There are definitely other people who, I don't even have to say the name. You'll be able to know exactly who I'm talking about whenever I'm like, anybody have a question? May I go to the bathroom?
I was gonna.
Yes.
I was funny enough. I was gonna bring that up later, but it's like, yeah, that was another thing. Like now, in 10th grade math class, the kid raised his hand, was like, yes, may I go to the bathroom?
Yeah, because the whole story was like the teacher was, of course, asking for somebody to solve the answer or to maybe ask a question about the math or whatever. But so it's like, anybody have any questions? And then shoots the hand up. May I go to the bathroom? That's not what I wanted you to do, but go ahead.
Sure, yeah. Count how many stalls are in the men's room.
And multiply them by how many sinks are in it, right?
Yep. There you go. No, but
3 times 3 is... Can I go to the bathroom?
9 was the answer, but sure. That was that.
I definitely have fond memories with the chorus stuff, the choir stuff, right? The music classes and such as, you know. There are definitely some silly, stupid things that, let's just say 2016 me did or said or whatever, but you know what? Everybody in the school is kind of like a stupid.
We were stupid.
And even the smart kids, everybody was stupid. That's what we could say, right? But it kind of makes me look back. It's like, oh, I'm surprised I don't have a restraining order against me with the shit that they said.
Yep.
I was surprised that you know who accepted my friend request. I'm like, what?
And I'm surprised she didn't call me to the principal's office.
The same person, right?
After I showed a Photoshop, I'm surprised I didn't get reported to the principal.
It was the one I made, right?
Yep, it was that one.
Oh, viewers, you will not see this picture.
Let's just say it would make you want to put bleach in your eyes.
Hey, maybe put bleach in your mouth. That's probably a better thing.
For all the viewers out there, this is a joke. We do not condone any of this.
Well, I mean, 2015, us definitely condoned it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Drink.
We were doofuses. We were all dumb back then.
It's
every single day in like a language arts class in middle school, right? Like there was a book that for whatever reason the teacher had like 5 of, and it was called Jacob Have I Loved. So just as a joke, I started putting one book on, a girl's desk, right? Every single day I did that. But then I added another one. But then I added a third one. It got to the point I was like, let's do 5. And then, that was like the only time that I was called to the principal's office for something like negative, right? Or should I say directly revolving around me, because I think in senior year I was called to the principal's office or maybe the vice in relation to the thing that happened with you, right?
Oh yeah.
So I was called in to kind of be like a witness sort of deal, but directly relating to me being, I guess, on the negative end. That was the first and only time that happened. Other times I was called in for like, you did great with this or something, right? Like different acknowledgments, but that was the only time because it got to a point where, looking back, I could see why somebody would go to like the teacher or go to the principal for this, because it's stupid. But you know what? Back then, it was also like it could have been seen as a type of harassment.
Yeah, which I mean,
I don't like that I did that, but I mean,
you can't.
It's a funny memory, but
It's something. Yeah.
At the same time, it might be funny to me, but maybe her thinking back to it, it's like, that was creepy as hell. Who knows?
Which, I mean, of course it's something that can't be undone, but at the end of the day, it's like, oh, we were just these silly kids.
But yeah, that's really the end of the day sort of thing. We were all dumb in high school, right?
Mm-hmm. And then I guess if we're talking nostalgia from post high school, it's playing Super Mario Maker 2 a lot.
Yep, and then lately, if you could even call it nostalgia, if it's like from a month ago, I don't know if that counts, but maybe it does. Obviously, there's a server that the two of you, that that former guest Lulu opened up. So
Yeah, and
occasionally we pop into that one too.
I wonder if she'll stream later.
Could be a today thing.
Yeah, but Minecraft, yep.
Or it could be SMM2 as well, right?
But yeah. I guess going back to the middle school days, do you think that's when, the feeling of nostalgia hits in most people?
I would say a lot of times it has to do, and I was actually thinking about this before we even recorded this. I genuinely think it has to do with the fact that everybody in their adolescent ages is pretty much starting to, let's just say, grow up.
Right.
Physically grow up, I mean,
physical and mental.
Let's just say the health class taught you about a lot of this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
That sort of stuff, the physical act of growing up. And it's kind of to a point where it changes the mental state of different people, right? It's like you, on the swing set in elementary school, could hold hands with little Susie, and you don't care, it's just little Susie. And suddenly you go through a little thing called puberty, and little Susie doesn't look so little anymore, and now it changes your brain into thinking, whoa!
Now it's not little Susie anymore.
Susan. Woo!
Yep. Yeah.
Hey, I'm gonna put the sin in Susan right now.
But hey, mood swings, adolescence.
But it definitely changes the mental state of everybody in that time, so I would kind of think that a lot of people have a lot of the memories tied to the time when they have their awakening as an adult. Let's just say that, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's a red awakening or a white awakening. Let's just call it that.
Sure. Okay. Yep. But I mean, my guess would have been people start. I guess once middle school starts, then now they're looking back to their younger, single-digit days before they turn 10. It's like, oh yeah, I remember playing Mario Kart on the DS, or I remember this cheap LCD game from McDonald's, in the Happy Meal.
So I'm genuinely curious about one thing here. Do you think that nostalgia is going to be a big thing with the current generation? And let me kind of add on. What I kind of mean is, since everything is kind of coming out so fast, a meme can be born and die tomorrow, right? So it's only cool today, and then tomorrow it's it's already old. Different things get dated, or I should say outdated. So I'm kind of asking, do you think there's going to be a point when the current generation, the Gen Alphas, and maybe their children, aren't able to look back on a lot of things because a lot of things are happening in their universe every single day, every single hour, a different game is born. And then tomorrow it's most of them are dead. It's just weird.
I mean,
do you think nostalgia is going to be as big of a thing
varies from person to person, but I guess speaking generally, they might have more of a chance of having like a big nostalgia thing.
You're saying more of a chance. I was honestly insinuating less of a chance because so much has happened. It's like their brains are filled with so many things, and it's like, how can I remember all 100 memes that I saw last hour?
I mean, I guess it depends on who the person is, but sure, I guess people may remember less, then some people may remember more.
Do you think artificial intelligence robots would be able to experience a nostalgic feel?
Only time will tell on that one.
You know what? 20 years later, we'll do an interview with the first actual artificial intelligence.
There we go.
That is assuming we are not enslaved by that.
Yep, definitely. But yeah, nostalgia. I guess with the Gen Z people, I guess they're more so.
We're Gen Z.
Yeah, us. We're the Gen Z people.
I thought you were saying like the Gen Alpha. I literally thought you were fucked up.
But us, I guess we do have some nostalgia for things that, I mean, let's just say there were things that were still around when we were like little, which may not be around now. Which I already dived into this a couple episodes ago during the media format wars, but some of these media formats have been making a resurgence, such as vinyl records and cassette tapes. But it's like, I guess this is more of a pseudo nostalgia because some of these people didn't even grow up with the vinyl records like maybe our parents did, but experiencing for the first time, it's like, wow, I wish I grew up during that time. And I guess I'll fall into the category of this part, like tapes, like cassettes, because I used to like recording the radio, like onto tape, like during like my high school years.
I never did that. The thing that I did was, if anything, maybe listen to radio. But that was honestly, that rarely happened too, because if anything, it was only during like hurricane season when we lost power, and it's like, well, all we need is battery power and an antenna to just, listen to something, right? It was either that or like pretty much nap, right?
Yeah.
But no, I'm actually curious about another thing. Are there any foods that you have like a nostalgia for?
Whether that's, chip snacks or like actual meals, let's just say, like we were speaking about the Gen Alphas, there's a lot to choose from. Like, there are certain snacks that I remember eating as a kid that I guess, whether that's because the snacks are discontinued or I just haven't cared enough for them now, I do have a nostalgia for, I guess, some snacks.
Actually, 3 right now, right? I'm curious if you've ever had any of these, but there is one. It was by Quaker Oats, but they were actually like kind of rice cracker, like puff sort of things that were kind of drizzled with like chocolate, like chocolate drizzle, or sometimes they were, coated in like rainbow sprinkle sort of things.
Quaker Oats Rice Crisps.
Yeah, they were like chips, kind of, but they had like different like drizzles of like chocolate and different things on them. That is something we used to get at a local wholesale store, right?
Okay.
One day it just stopped coming into the store, so it's like we never were able to get it again. The other two are under the pirate booty like faction. There's one that was like the Einstein Puffs or something, and then there's one which had like a rock star on it, which was like called the Crunchy Tins. Those two I've never seen in person. I've never seen them after like a year or whatever. But I only always see regular Pirate Lady. I never see the other two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool though. But I guess when I was younger, I also used to go to the health food store. I'm not counting the one that I've gone to in a local town, but there's definitely been some health food stores that I used to go to when I was on a gluten-free diet, but there would be some snacks that I would get there that I genuinely liked. But then, ever since I was able to start eating gluten again, it's like I finally got back to the normal stuff. But I guess there's some nostalgia for that time, even though it was a nightmare not to eat anything that you liked at the same time.
But honestly, speaking of food, this is kind of a good segue into our recurring segment.
That's right.
It's time, once again, for Taste Trades. Now for those of you who don't know, Taste Trades is our recipe swapping segment where occasionally we'll think of recipes, make them if we haven't already done so, and then we swap it with the other person, right? But the caveat is we would have had to have made them, or at least been a part of the making process before, otherwise it does not count, right? So, yeah. I mean, last time we did one of these, it was a whole journey because we did a chop style, right? Where like 4 different segments were all about the same, I guess, the same ingredients, right?
Yep.
This time we're going back to roots, and we're just going to be doing just a theme that's going to be on the regular Taste Trade that just happens to have a theme. So you know what? Let's open up the documents and let's see. 7B, right?
That's what you're gonna look at, and I'm gonna look at 7J.
So, okay.
3, 2, 1, and let's look at your recipe.
Oh, okay.
I see.
Okay. So,
Wow. Jake gave me what seems like a muffin, like cake thing.
Did I not? I could have sworn I had it.
Looks like you had. So you have.
Hold your horses and you do a title. I'm doing the title live. Hold your horses.
Alright.
Where's the size? There it is. 48. I want it to be 18.
This, folks.
Personal size. Which you did not have it on the mark. At the mark I gave you something close to it, but not exactly that. So.
I knew it had cream cheese. I could taste it. I was like, is this cream cheese?
Oh, sure, but you didn't have a problem with it. At the end of the day, you were just... Okay, everybody go back to the Dom Picky interview if you want to hear more about his pickiness. We don't have to get into it now, but roasted almonds, I mean, doesn't look too rough.
Yeah, it's definitely simple compared to this, but hey, I've made pretty crazy stuff throughout Taste Trade, so this should not be a problem.
It never fails. It never fails that I mean, that's what you get whenever you have like a theme, right? it's usually open-ended to the point where it's like, yeah, I think this could count as a snack. And so... and so you might read the theme as a different thing than how I read it. So it's like, I would maybe think of this, and then you would just do sprinkle some salt on some nuts and call it a day.
Oh, there's not just some salt. There's definitely other.
I'm wildly underestimating or understating what it actually is. I know there's more to it than
So
that,
this is so. I guess your recipe is similar to one of those little mini pies that you would buy at the store, except well,
yeah.
it's homemade.
Yeah, but it's also cheesecake, not a pie.
So I guess, yeah. Well, I guess I'll be making this.
And I'll be making... Honestly, this isn't going to take me too long. I think I could do it tomorrow. I think we have all the ingredients already.
Yep, so we've already done our grocery shopping, so this might take me
a week or two, right?
But, yeah, but we did get blueberries, so I might maybe use that.
You can spice it up a little bit. You can zhuzh it up. Like maybe as like a little decoration, like topper. But, I mean, in all honesty, all the viewers at home, this theme was snack food.
Snack food, yep. I did forget to touch on a current mainstream brand, a snack. Well, it's not so current now because this was like 14 years ago, but
current.
I used to like. There's this flavor. There was these line of Doritos. I guess it was like late night or something. Let me see. Yeah, there was like. Let me see what it's called. Yep, the late night. And then the flavor I liked was called All-Nighter Cheeseburger, and it tasted like pickles and like mustard. It was actually really good. But that's all I wanted to say.
Well,
but
I think it's that time. We are going to be seeing you again. It'll be instant for you, but of course, it'll take us some time to actually get going on these recipes.
All right.
We will be back when we, and when we are back, we will be judging and saying how we liked it, how we enjoyed the process of doing it, and if we would do it again.
All right. Perfect.
This was hands down the worst taste trade segment. Introduction. Right. It was the worst introduction that we've done because we didn't plan it out.
But regardless, though, we'll see you guys in a second. All right.
See you then.
We'll be back. And we're back. Well, yep, I made my thing. Well, actually, I made his thing and he made my thing.
Right, I was about to say.
No, but, I guess for a little reminder, I made personal-sized cheesecake, and Jake made what I guess it is the roasted almonds.
Roasted almonds, yep. So, everybody out there, we kind of discussed this a little bit before. I mean, you would probably remember it, but maybe the two of us wouldn't as much. Well, it was kind of funny how, for a snack, the two of us kind of took it to mean two different sorts of things. I kind of was like, oh, let's just shrink an existing thing, so then that can be something to snack on, right? But then you had the other idea, where it's like, oh, it just has to be like a simple, easy thing, right?
I guess the tables have turned here, because now instead of me making you make something difficult, now it's like you made something a little more challenging.
I wouldn't say the things that you sent me ever were really difficult. I would just say, if anything, maybe higher than I expect, or
Let's.
so far, I would never say anything that you told me to make was difficult, at least to an extreme point. Maybe
Yep.
harder than I thought, but not
Flashback.
difficult.
Flashback. Simple ingredients. 3-ingredient cookie. I gave you chocolate chip.
Yeah, but you know what? If you haven't listened to that one already, listen to that, because I freaked the freak out. You know?
But
We don't need to freak out that much with this one, anyway. At
Yeah,
least in
but-
my perspective. Maybe
Um,
you can freak out. But you know what? I think I'll share my experience first, so that we finish with the possible freak out, right?
sure,
So
yeah.
So I'll go first, so then we finish strong, right? So the roasted almonds. Essentially, we're just 1 tin of almonds, a little bit of oil, a little bit of seasoning of you specified paprika, onion powder, and onion powder. So paprika and double onion powder, apparently. Which is something I noticed before. You wrote onion powder twice
Did
for the
I?
seasonings. Yep. And
Wow.
then, I mean, I just took that as like onion powder and paprika, right? Like, I just did those two.
I think I meant to say garlic powder.
Well, I only did the two.
Well, paprika. Well, I like onion powder better anyway, so.
Well, regardless, of course, then it was pretty much just bake them in the oven for a long time, and then coat them in your little spices, right?
Yeah.
That's to kind of catch the viewers up. That's pretty much it. I'd say maybe the easiest thing that I've ever been sent on this little taste trade endeavor that we've been doing.
All right. So
so
how about? Yeah.
How about those rankings, right? What were you about to say?
I was literally just gonna say, well, how's the taste?
How's the taste? Okay, well, I'd say 5, right? I'm saying, like, it's a snack. It's something you can have. Healthier, too, but taste has nothing to do with health. But, I mean, it's I could take it or leave it, right? It's one of those things, it's like, not special. If that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
It's obviously not offensive. It's not like spit it out, get me out of here. I guess there were a few like burnt ones that were kind of on the smaller side, right? Some of the nuts were kind of small, so it's like they burnt a little higher, so maybe that was like kind of spit out worthy, but like it's just nuts and seasoning, right?
It was like literally.
It's not much.
But yeah, it was more like it was definitely a last minute like Father's Day gift that I had.
And I mean, hate to say it, but that kind of definitely shows, right? But you know what?
It's still
sentimental value. It's nice, right?
Yeah, it still counts, but yeah.
It counts as a snack, definitely. So I would say, let's see, enjoying the process. I mean, it was easy. I of course you gotta enjoy an easy process. So I'd say like a 7 on the making it, right? So all it was once again just open, pour, preheat, maybe drizzle and shake. And then pull it out, and that's it.
Yeah, it's not meant. Yeah, it's meant to literally. It's meant to just like snack on and like easy to make, fun to eat, right?
I mean, so I mean, they're okay, right? And obviously, you pretty much said, 1 tablespoon of each seasoning. Which, I mean, if you didn't specify what seasonings you do, or you're supposed to do. I did not put garlic powder on it because, you said onion twice.
Well, it's fine. It's fine.
But regardless, mistakes aside, like 5 on the taste and 7 on the making enjoyment.
Yeah.
As for the would I do this again? I don't really. This one might be the first where I'm like, I could take or leave it. So like, okay. Let's ask the other question. Am I likely to make this again? I am not likely to make this again. So
unless, well, what if you had like a family get together?
Well, I just like to make the more complicated stuff so that it shows that I can do something, right?
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
I mean, that's the way that I kind of do it. I'm like, I'm that one person who brings like a big ass homemade loaf of bread or something to the gathering.
Or how about the 10-layer cake?
So, I mean, I wouldn't be against that either, right? But how about this? Let's switch the story around and get you to discuss your opinions and process and stuff like that.
Yep, personal sized cheesecake.
Right.
Yep, I did. Yep, exactly what the recipe has stated here. I got the graham crackers. They were already pre-crushed. Did the tables.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yep. And I did the butter. I melted it. Did exactly what it said with the cream cheese, the quarter cups. I mean, when I was like, for some reason, when I was doing the crust, I was expecting it to already be like a clumpy dough.
Oh, it's not gonna be like a clumpy dough. You go kind of work with it, you know?
It's like, so funny thing here is for the crust I hand mixed it, but then for the crust, the filling, I used the little electric mixer.
Fine and dandy. I wouldn't see anything going wrong with that.
Yep. Because I didn't want the cheesecake to, I guess, stick to the pan, I did use the option that you had and put the little cup things in there.
Yeah. Were they the paper or were they like the silicone ones? I know, like both of them exist.
I think they are paper.
They were the paper ones, yeah. Okay.
So you said between 15 and 20 minutes, I did 17.
Yeah, healthy middle.
But then, like, however, I was like, took it out. Well, because our oven is like tiny, I did see that when I just tested to see if it's good, it did jiggle like the filling. So then I decided I was gonna turn it around and then bake for another 3 more minutes. And
nice. Then okay.
So then it's done. It looks good. Like, I mean, it's not as jiggly as the last time, just a little bit, but hey, it's cream. It's cream cheese. It's like, you know, I put it in the fridge for a few hours.
Right. Has to set in there.
So it's like, maybe if I refrigerate it, it'll not jiggle up. But
okay. What was your findings?
Okay, so for the process of making it, maybe like 5 to 6 out of 10. Wasn't...
Yeah, not hard, not the easiest or whatever. Right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I was
basic
like,
enough.
Mm-hmm. Also, just trying to like do the ratio between crust and filling. That was too much in the paper, but then I put it back in the bowl so the crust is on the bottom. But it was all right. So as for the taste, let's just say it does taste a bit like, I guess, factory store-bought cheesecake.
Is that a positive or negative? I guess you haven't really ranked it on the scale yet. I'm kind of nervous for this one, honestly.
By ranking it, huh?
Yeah, rank it for your personal taste enjoyment. Yeah.
It was, I guess, it's like a same thing, like take it or leave it. I'll eat it.
It's a 5 or 6. Yeah. Okay. In the middle there. That's not bad.
Yeah. For something that's homemade, I am proud of it.
Nice. Now I am curious, since there were obviously more than one made, did any of your folks touch it or even look at it, or...
As of right now, no one has touched it but me. Or at least,
Oh, jeez.
not to my knowledge.
I kind of want you to bring one tomorrow so that I can see.
Or at least as of right now. At least I do. Or I don't even know if somebody touched it yet. But
True. Maybe everybody touched it, but they never just ate it, you know? It was just, they're always just poking it. Every single time they look at it, they're like, poke.
oh, of course. Hey, it's kind of like watermelon. You just poke your finger right through it. I used to do. I think I did that in kindergarten. I got in trouble for it.
Oh, jeez.
But the taste, yep, it's good. Would I make this again? Probably not. But there's also...
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. And no, I did not add any toppings to it.
Oh, okay. Because I'm curious if you were able to find your hand in the watermelon right now. I was curious if you were able to add the bloopers that I kind of heard about before, but that's totally fine, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But overall, this was not a bad taste trade segment.
Definitely wasn't that bad of a... It was, in fact, a take or leave taste trade segment, right?
Yeah, because it's a snack.
On both fronts. But you know what? I think we could do something, together where we just take some roasted almonds and shove them inside personal cheesecakes. We just combine them.
An almond cheesecake.
Especially with the onion powder and paprika.
It goes well with something like this.
Maybe.
No.
We don't know. But speaking of we don't know, let's get into the next thing we're going to be talking about, which is...
the pros and cons of nostalgia.
Nailed it. That was a pro right there, right?
But, again, let's just say, if it wasn't for nostalgia, we probably wouldn't be seeing comebacks of, even TV shows and even, technology, like we've discussed.
Media, anything, really. We wouldn't see a resurgence on, maybe artists who are, 60, 70 years old and doing, a country tour or whatever. We wouldn't have that be, anything going on. We wouldn't have people still re-listening to classics all the time.
Music. Music types have definitely... some of them have made a return. I guess with the popularity of Stranger Things, you get a lot of 80s synth and new stuff as well.
Oh, that show literally put a song... It doesn't happen often, or it might have never happened other than this time, but so I forgot if anyone else actually had this honor, but Kate Bush, the lady behind Running Up That Hill, that was a big song in the latest season of Stranger Things, right? So it was one of those phenomenons where out of nowhere the number one song was a song that's that old from the 80s. That never happens, or at least it's very, very rare for that to happen in the music industry, where just suddenly the song of the week is from the 80s. Not a remastered. They literally used the same that was released back in the 80s.
Yep.
They didn't have, somebody else covering it or something else, right?
Like the original.
The original used again, and that did wonders. I wouldn't say that Kate Bush was someone who, was a nobody, right? Like, she was known, she was big at the time, but it was at the point where it was like, we also have the other 80s people who it's like, well, let's just say she wasn't an 80s version of Taylor Swift, right? Where it's like Taylor Swift is like freaking big for the modern day.
Yeah.
She wasn't that of the 80s, right? But she was definitely known to a certain caliber. What happened last year or 2 years ago or whatever, influx. She got the most popular that she's ever been just because the Duffer brothers just happened to add her song to the playlist, the track, right?
Yeah.
That's wild. And you know what? She deserves it. It's a great song.
It's pretty good.
And how often do you think, especially people who might be either our age or younger, and I'm gonna also add the caveat of pretend you're not thinking for yourself, you're just thinking about the average person, right? Our age or younger. How often are someone in their early 20s or younger looking back at any song from the past? Usually it's like, let's get the new song that's out right now a shot. We barely, as a generation, I would say, go back and be like, you know what? Let's listen to this random artist from the 60s. We don't do that as a generation.
Mm-hmm.
It's the now, it's the new song.
New technology, yeah, modern song.
Or, in a lot of cases, to tie it back into the nostalgia, usually it's the childhood songs being revisited again. Right? It's the, let's just listen to, One Direction Story of My Life because I was 10 or whatever, and that was Simple Time or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us don't go back to, let's listen to everything that the Beach Boys ever did. Now,
I mean,
of course, there are exceptions to that rule, but I would say, as a whole, it's going to be, I'm just going to listen to the Taylor Swift new album. I'm just going to listen to the Kendrick Lamar stuff going on right now. I'm just going to listen to this one right now that's released last week, rather than last century.
Okay, so there's, I don't know, it also depends, they like the new stuff because, well, they're grown up into it, but maybe you want to give these older artists a chance. Let's just say the king of pop was the king of pop.
Right, and I would be surprised if anybody younger than us has never heard of some of the older greats, right? It's possible, it's obviously possible that someone has never heard of Michael Jackson or Queen or Prince or whoever, whatever, doesn't matter, but the greats, it's possible. But I would say because of the parents, or maybe the Bohemian Rhapsody movie, or I should say any other movie that has their stuff in it, or who knows, maybe
Wayne's World?
Well, I'm trying to talk about modern day kids.
Yeah.
This world is not today, kids. Let me tell you that. That was 80s too. Or whatever, maybe it was like 90s, I don't know. But regardless, I'm more so saying the stuff like the kids of today, and I'm calling us kids even though we're not kids, but like the kids of today, Gen Z and younger, typically learn about these older performers by other people. It could be, you know, just a YouTube video where it's like somebody's gone back and is like, oh, let's see if it holds up still. You know, like an Anthony Fantano sort of thing, even though he also listens to newer stuff too. But there's just so many artists in the modern day. It's kind of hard for the younger people to just go back and be like, let's listen to what it used to be, rather than, oh, I'm just going to listen to my million albums that are released all at my fingertips right now, right? There's an influx of things coming out. And I mean, both you and I know that the things don't even technically have to be made by people, right? Like,
Yeah.
We technically could do an artificial intelligence deep dive in another episode, but
But
we're not going to talk about AI stuff now, right?
But it's like, well, whether you've heard it from, you know, your parents, grandparents, or even if it was just on TV, it's like, there's definitely some, I don't know. Or how about you were watching a movie that's from maybe the 60s or 70s, you're like, wait, how come Annie's not holding an iPhone?
Yeah, that's something interesting. It's like, they're definitely, okay. Maybe this is kind of weird because it's coming from, well, early 20-year-old people. This pod is between two people in their early 20s, who are somewhat familiar with the past sort of stuff, right? We are.
Yep.
I am aware of what a rotary phone is. I am aware of, you know, you take it and you kind of dial it with your finger going in the holes, and then it's
Yep.
like, and then you have to wait for it to go back, so then you pick your next number. I get that. I know what that is. I
Yep.
haven't used one, like a real rotary, but I know what that is. Same with, I know what, you know, VHS stuff is. I know what DVD is even, which feels kind of weird to say, but we're at that point where a lot of people are just thinking, oh, it's just a subscription thing. That's the only thing that's ever existed. That's
Not-
wrong, but can you blame them? It's the only thing that they're familiar with.
Yeah.
And maybe if the two of us weren't paying attention to anything like technology from the past, do you think you would logistically, or I guess realistically rather, would you realistically know what a projector is if you weren't into the past technology stuff?
It's that thing that teachers use.
But really, they don't use that anymore. Everyone's like a Promethean board or chalkboard still. Nobody uses that dusty old projector with the clear slides on it.
Nobody's gonna watch 8mm movies on their projector because nobody knows what it is.
Like, we were introduced, for anybody who's older than us who isn't a teacher, right? For anybody listening to this who already, you know, went through their education path, right? From K to 12. Maybe the universities had something better, but we're not going to talk about college stuff. Now, to all of you, there has been a thing that was added when we were relatively late on in our schooling career, I would say. I would say like 6th, 7th, maybe, is the time when all of the classrooms, at least in our district, got something called a Promethean board, where it's essentially if you could imagine it, a big tablet the size of, I don't know, half of the wall that you could, set up things, right? Like, come up to the board and, solve this equation or whatever. It's pretty much a big-ass tablet that's, like, on the wall. You would agree with that statement?
It's pretty close.
It's like a tablet. It's just big, right? Don't draw on it with a dry erase marker, because that's not good. Because it wouldn't really erase easily from that, whatever. But you could draw it with like a little stylus or whatever, or with your finger. I think you could do that too, but whatever. They were kind of introduced to our district in the 6th, 7th grade for us. Yes, we kind of saw them at 5 and 4, but they were relatively new then. They kind of did an overhaul of all of the classrooms when we were in 6th or 7th.
I guess
that being said, after they really were rolled out, the students of that time who went from kindergarten, starting right then with a Promethean board, they're not gonna know anything about a projector, because they saw from kindergarten, it's a Promethean board or nothing.
I guess the Promethean board is a form of a what's called a short throw projector, where it's like if you can't mount it, it's in one little area. But I don't know, it's pretty cool. But remember, if you use a dry erase marker, then you're screwed.
Right. That's why a lot of times in the middle schools and in the elementary also now, there are the printouts that are remember, no dry erase. Which is kind of funny to see those little printouts, but that's obviously not the point of this. I was kind of more so saying that to kind of illustrate the point of, if you never experienced it, how do you know you miss it, right? How do you know what existed if you don't know what existed?
It's like pseudo.
Yeah, you might be able to find out from who knows, maybe you watch a tech YouTuber. The 8-year-olds of today might watch a tech YouTuber talking about different things, and maybe how they hold up versus older types of things. Maybe there is somebody releasing a video today that's okay, how does streaming from Netflix compare to a VHS? And then that 8-year-old's gonna be like, what the heck is a VHS? They look it up, and they're like, that's what a VHS is. Weird. That's a weird concept. Then they might ask their parents, have you ever used a VHS? And then they're gonna be like, yes, we have. Interesting. How do you know this? It's because they learned it from a source.
Yeah, that's how a lot of people, I guess, even people our age learn about these old things.
Heck, I mean, you go even broader than that. That's how a lot of people learn about anything, really. You could even be, 50 years old and just learning about, I don't know, Bangladesh cuisine. Sure.
Yeah.
It's new to you, right? You didn't know it existed, or you didn't know what it was specifically, or whatever the course, right? But it kind of makes me think, is it really a good thing that nostalgia is a thing in the first place? Because we're at a point where all of these children who haven't experienced the past are able to kind of modify the technology of today because they're used to it. They're all able to kind of hack into the power school and change their grade.
It is, yeah. It's good to a degree. Let's just say that. I think it's good to a degree. At least pass on the old knowledge to the younger generation. But
I mean, it's definitely something like knowledge and stuff like that. History, of course, pass it down, because God forbid we don't want another, maybe another time when, let's just say, in the history there was something that existed called not women's rights, right? Like where they were essentially property. Essentially, they were just like a pretty thing that you towed around. It's like you had to be really special to be a lady who actually owned something back in that time. Now, historically, if everybody who knew that fact back in the past just deleted that from the history books and kept on teaching their children that yes, women are property for everybody, then guess what? They're not going to know that there was anything because the history was covered up, right?
History will repeat itself.
It will repeat itself unless if we know about it and know realistically how stuff ended.
So maybe there's things,
the pros and cons.
So maybe there are things that maybe are just better left in the past. And then there's okay.
I have something that you just kind of popped back into my head. I watched a series last year or something called Astra Lost in Space. I don't want to get into spoilers. It is an anime. Surprisingly, what isn't an anime that I watch? Nah, I watched a mixed variety of things, but I can say Astra Lost in Space, very great. I would highly recommend it to anybody, even as an introduction to anime. If anything, you don't really need to know about anime to enjoy it. It's one of those, right? It's one of those great standalone movies. It's just animated differently. If anything, that's what it is. But it's actually a series, not a movie, I think. But the whole process is a group of students is shuttled onto a spacecraft for a camp. Right, in the future there's a camp sort of thing where it's all of you just, get sent to this planet and you live there for a week. That's your survival training or outing or field trip, something like that, right? That's the whole basis of the start of that. Yeah. Something happens and then they get, surprise, lost in space, right? Flash forward to 6-7 episodes later, we get revealed the fact that they were from, the normal Earth period, but what ended up happening was all the people in power agreed that we should just delete a lot of things from history, right? Delete entire sections, entire things. And they discover that, they're what the heck is a religion? Because that was one of the things that was deleted. The concept of believing in a different thing, because the mindset was if everybody believed in the same thing, there would be no fighting as to, why we are correct rather than you. It's a us thing, not a me versus you, right? It's a unified belief that it is just people existing with, presidents, monarchs, like rulers like that, it's not like a system where they believe a higher being that isn't a human, right? So
Yeah.
they wiped clean anything about like religion. They wiped clean anything about like wars or like how good oil is or some of the resources like that. They instead kind of made it so you could pick and choose the history or whatever. Like, they made it so you learn history, sure, but only the good stuff. And that was globally. Everybody learned about that. Except for, like close to the royalty, right? Like, the royalty was kind of able to know for sure, oh, this is actually what happened. There is some lost history here. So, a bunch of things happen. I got into not spoiling anything since I do recommend watching it. I'm not going to say anything else, but that concept of wiping something clean in order to make peace, regardless of, oh yeah, 60s music, it sounds funky and cool.
Well,
but you look at the lyrics and it's like, you killed my family because you send them to war. Like, political commentary would be wiped away. So then everybody, regardless of age, would pretty much be unified, like, yeah, why would I hate anybody? They wiped racism, they wiped sexism, they wiped everything. Everything that could possibly lead to bad things, they wiped away. Now, would the lack of knowledge lead to happiness? As they say, ignorance is bliss. But after learning, like the children who were lost in space, after learning that a lot of history is just not there, they're like, what the heck? We should know this stuff. We were lied to like our whole lives. They're also lied to about other things, but that really gets into spoiler zone. But
yeah. So history, I guess, is important, whether it's good, whether it's bad. But there is something I did want to touch on. I guess this was a show, it happened like 20 years ago. And the show is called Totally Obsessed. I don't know if this necessarily relates to, like, this guy being nostalgic, but this guy was, like, obsessed. I mean, obsessed with Pac-Man. You can look it up on YouTube. Like, he has... I can't really watch the video right now as we're talking, but he has, like, I think an arcade cabinet. He has, like, a plush. His wife was, like, getting concerned because of this guy.
Just a cabinet and a plush doesn't seem that bad.
No, but I haven't seen this in, like, years, but there's probably details that that I've probably left out.
I mean, there are a lot of people who have, like, plushies all over their bed, right?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't...
No, but...
I personally wouldn't, like... Okay, 20 years ago, different time, I guess.
Or no,
but,
he has...
I wouldn't say from how you described it, it's a bad thing.
No, okay. Well, I think from what I do remember, I think he, like... I don't know if he had, like, a megaphone or whatever. He's, like, shouting Pac-Man and stuff. I don't know if I would necessarily say this is, like, bad, but...
At the time, it might have been, right? It might have been the weird thing back then, but now that we're able to kind of see, little glimpses into everybody's psyche, as long as they post something, then...
Or, like, TLC.
Honestly, right, something like that, too. But... So, like, just some guy with a cabinet and a plushie
I
who shouts Pac-Man into a megaphone. That's not concerning at all
I
for me.
I mean, I have not seen this in you, but definitely check it out. But maybe it's not that bad. But I just remember, yeah, he was like going. I think people take that obsession to a whole level, and this guy's wife was like embarrassed, or well, just how he took his obsession, but at the same, I don't know. Maybe I'm speaking nonsense right now, but I might be looking at it differently.
I mean, this kind of goes into, a different rabbit hole, but I guess since you introduced it, I'll say something. Then we could, get back to the actual stuff. But when it comes to that, there is a difference between obsession and just a major interest, right? A special interest, as some populations would call it. It's like you would go up to somebody and they could tell you every single dinosaur that has ever existed and every single fact that has ever existed about them, because they're just super interested into the land of dinos, right?
Yeah,
but I wouldn't call them obsessed. I would just say they're highly interested in dinosaurs. Yes, they could maybe like go above and beyond when it's like, okay, all I asked you was what your favorite one was. You didn't need to dive into all those details. But I would just say they'd be interested. I mean, maybe there's a finer line in between obsession and interest, but to me, it takes a lot to be obsessed with something. To me, it's more likely just an interest, a passionate interest, but an interest. But I guess going back into the pros and cons of nostalgia, can you think of any like cons of nostalgia, of looking back on something?
I mean, there's people that will, okay, they'll look fondly, but then they're gonna think, oh, hey, this is what I grew up with. This is like totally better. But reality is well, that was the only thing you've probably had. Let's just say,
just like the idea of every child should get, beaten up, because guess what? That's the thing that I went through. So you have to do it too. Same sort of thing, like you have to, like the work culture of today. Every old person who's employed is pretty much like, you have to, give the shirt off your back for no extra reward. In fact, if there is an extra reward, all it is a pizza party, right? It's not even like a pay raise or whatever. But we're at a point where, the youth who are entering the employment zone are like, hey, I'm not going to do anything extra for you because I know my worth. If you're not going to pay me extra, I'm not going to do anything extra. Simple as that. You're not going to treat me right, I won't treat your company right. And we're getting to a point where there is age discrimination happening, where older, business owners are just saying, screw it, we're not going to hire anyone from Gen Z or younger. We're only going to hire Gen X and higher because they have a work culture that matches my own. I mean, I would say my generation has a strong work culture, but we also know what we're worth. We don't want to just, lick poop off of your boot because you said good morning to us, right? Like, I could be weird saying this, but I don't want to lick poop off my boss's shoe.
I mean, I guess, like, no matter, I mean, you still want to put pride in your work, no matter how much you're getting paid, but...
Yeah, put pride into it, but, like, if you're if you're gonna pay me the same amount to just lightly feather dust, not even worry about it, versus a full-on store deep clean, you bet your ass I want to be paid more if I worked more. But they don't. In fact, if you give 120%, they expect that from you all the time. Which, I'm sorry, that's not 100% possible.
Yeah.
You can't just do everything possible, because it's gonna wear you out. So that's why a lot of us, the secret to how a lot of our generation deals with employment, we do the minimum. Because guess what? The minimum won't get us fired, but it's not gonna break our back for either an extra penny or a pizza party that, they'd rather pay $20 for a pizza rather than give me $20 more an hour, right?
Mm-hmm.
Employment is totally a crazy different thing, right?
This is not the same as, I guess, nostalgia, but this week...
There is an aspect, though. That's the reason why I went down this rabbit hole, is because some of the older people are saying, I look fondly at burning my butt on a metal slide. You should have that too. Even though they were burned, they look at that and they're like, you have to go through the bad stuff too. 'Cause I did.
I mean, there's a difference between, torturing yourself and, I guess, having a sergeant going through your skull just to, toughen you up. There's a difference between those two things.
We could always get further into detail, I guess, about, work culture, even though that would probably be the most heated I will ever get on this pod. Maybe. Who knows?
It's a back burner, but we'll likely not do it. Who knows? Nostalgia can be both good or bad, depending on how you look at it. Like we stated in part 1, it's like, how about a game system, the kids today like their Switch better than whatever future Nintendo console comes out with.
True, yeah. I mean, we kind of dove into that
already enough
back then, but it's like, you kind of think, is the past really better when it comes to technology, right?
Remix.
Is it truly better, or is it just, a lot of people who are growing up to the point where they're like, this was the thing of my childhood, right? Like, is an NES better than the Switch? Or is it just
technology-wise?
Or is it just you're asking someone who was pretty much born on the NES?
I will say this. No, it was graphic-wise, the Switch is definitely a lot better than the NES. But it's I'm sure they're going to have the argument of it's not about, the graphics. Really more or less the story of the game, which I also agree with. The game play matters more than the graphical capabilities. But, of course, graphics also play a part at the same time. And here's another thing that I think we've mentioned before, remakes of a video game. How about 4 years ago we got SpongeBob's Battle for Bikini Bottom rehydrated. That game, of course I've played more of the original, but of course the graphics of this new version look better. But people would rather play the original just because, hey, that's our childhood. This was so much better. Sure. I still like the original a lot better, but not for the same reason you may like it better.
I'm gonna be honest, never played, barely seen, so that doesn't have any impact with anything on my end. But But I mean, that's valid. You could think that way. I just wouldn't know. I mean, I would probably know the difference by looking at it, but like, I wouldn't really. I'm not the person to ask when it comes to the SpongeBob game.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, something can be said about another thing that maybe we mentioned before, but the Animal Crossing stuff, right? It's not the same thing again, because usually they do change it up considerably. It's not just the same thing, but HD, right? There's usually some difference going on. So I would say like rehashing way better than just remaking or whatever, right? Same sort of thing with like movies. It's like, yeah, you could write a story that's about like a dude that goes to space and gets stuck there. That's been done before, but you could definitely do different things with it.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing.
Just because it's a remake doesn't necessarily mean, it's going to be script by script, like word for word. Like, kind of like a modern take on something. I do think, it depends on everyone's perspective. But, just because, I don't know. Just because you may like the original better doesn't mean it's necessarily better.
We should maybe, actually ask certain people, is something truly better? Or is it just something that you look back on fondly because of the other stuff? Obviously back in the past when you weren't paying your taxes and you were just playing a Battle for Bikini Bottom game, and sure, you liked it because you didn't think about the adult stuff. But now that you're thinking about the adult stuff, maybe it's souring your gameplay of the newer rendition, right?
Maybe.
But maybe the remake is actually better, and it's just because you're an adult, you're not enjoying it as much.
There's definitely that. Like, you've maybe grown out, or you might have grown out of it. But
that's true too, but I would say if you grew out of it, then even replaying the old one, you would just not like it anymore, right? I would think that, a lot of people have, when it comes to really any game, but, a big one for a lot of our aged people is the Minecraft stuff, right? It's back when it was kind of new or whatever, it's or back in elementary or middle, it's people played it all the time with the group of friends. Then they graduate, and it's well, now whenever I log in, it's just kind of sad, right? Because nobody's playing with me anymore. Because one's serving in a war, one is, full-time working all the time, and then the other said they would join, but had last-minute plans and just flaked. So it ended up just being the one person playing. And it's not as fun because it's not goofing around with the
other
whole
people.
group. It's just yourself at that point. Which, I'm someone who can find entertainment just playing myself, right? But there is definitely a different thing with real people, with a group, because there's a lot of shenanigans there. Definitely look back on that game, right? But I still do play it though, occasionally, every now and then, right? But regardless, whether nostalgia is a pro or con in your mind, it still kind of exists. It's going to exist to some point, unless if we eliminated any change. If we had a Truman Show experiment, right, where we just set up somebody from day zero, from, extraction, from birth, to, I don't know, 50. Long 50-year experiment. Maybe that individual, if they never experience any changes, maybe they'll be fine. Like, that's the way to test if nostalgia is like good or not, is if we set up somebody from 0 to 50 or even higher and just have it be the same thing all the time. Like, we are at a point where we crave differences. You and I, both of us, might get bored at watching the same movie again every single day. The same thing. Repeat. On repeat. Same thing.
It's like, oh, yep.
Clockwork.
Oh,
We get the point of it, but if there was no other option, and if we didn't know there was no other option, then would we be fine with it?
I mean, I guess. But also, it's like, I don't know. Maybe my mind would spiral if it's like, oh, this is the only thing we have.
But that's a different. Your mind would. But you are used to being able to just flip a channel and now it's different. Flip the page and now it says a different word. Or shut the book and grab another one. That's totally different. You're able to think about, like, oh, I'll sightsee in India today, but tomorrow I'll kayak in the Nile. I don't know. Well, sure.
Sure, yeah.
We are at a point where we are seeing all of these differences. We're geared for it. How often are you like, oh, I already had spaghetti last night, so I don't want it this night? I mean, a lot of people typically do that. It's, I already had this, so I don't want it again.
Yeah, it's like
That's very common. So thinking about that experiment of 0 to 50 with no chance of anything different happening, maybe they'll be fine with it. Because they know no better. They don't know that you could just pick up a different book. They don't know that anything different can happen. That's the only, like, way we could definitely for sure rule out if nostalgia is actually great or not. Because I would even say back in the nomad days where human beings were just walking around, they walked around and saw different things, so even that was different. They were inventing different things with the cards that they had, inventing different games, different ways of gambling, different things to do with it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, honestly.
if you don't have entertainment, you have differences. So if we set up just a system where it's like, that person never experiences anything different in their life. Same thing, clockwork. I don't think they would go insane because they don't know any better. Or maybe they would. Maybe human instinct just pushes in and they're like, wait a minute, this is the same thing again and again.
Well, everybody's different, really. So, like, if my mind could spiral, doesn't mean everyone else is.
Well, you're thinking about you going into it. You're not thinking in context of you knew nothing else. You keep on answering like, well, I think I would go insane.
I mean,
because you know that you can have different entertainment at the click of a button. You can try a different book. But what I'm trying to say is, from start to finish, it's the same thing for that person.
Yeah.
I am willing to say that person would not go insane. Yeah. That's my hypothesis. That person who knows nothing else but the same thing every day.
To them, this is normal.
Know nothing.
So it's like they're normal.
So, nostalgia, I think, to kind of tie into the thing from before, could kind of be considered like a sickness. Almost. Because
Yeah.
everybody's infected by foggy memories of things that they've seen before. Maybe their brain changes it up a little bit to maybe make it seem that much better. Who knows? I mean, nostalgia's a tricky mistress.
It exists. At the end of the day, it just exists.
And it might exist in just a gray area where it's like, it might not be the best for you, but it might not be the worst thing in the world, right?
But yeah, I think we definitely dove deep into the feeling of nostalgia. Is there anything else that either you're nostalgic about or something else you want to talk about before we wrap it up here?
You know, something that I think I can say I'm nostalgic about is looking back every single episode of this podcast where we come to the conclusion part and we think about how are we going to end this? We do this so often. We're like, do we plan one out ahead of time? Do we want to make it like, I don't know, tied to the episode so it's like a skit sort of ending? Or, I mean, look back fondly into the idea of it just ending. A cold conclusion, even.
Sure.
Maybe it just ends right here.